Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Job Search 101, which is part of our Get That Job webinar series here at the Champaign Public Library. My name is Jordan Neal, and I am the career librarian here at the library. So thank you all for joining us. And so for the latest library news and updates, we invite you to visit our website, champaign.org, or you can follow us on social media. The library is open. And we're also still offering our curbside services. So please just give us a call or again, email us for more information. Moving on to a couple of Zoom features available to you that might help during this webinar. There are some buttons or icons at the bottom of your Zoom screen, depending on your device. On the far left, you have the options that control your sound or your speaker. Moving to the right and within the center of the window includes a chat and raised hand option. You can use these options to ask us questions or share any comments. I believe our presenter will be pausing for questions. We invite you to type your question into the chat or raise your hand, and then we can unmute you if you prefer to speak and ask your questions. I'd also like to remind everyone that our webinars are recorded, so just be mindful when you share those questions and comments. And then finally, I would like to introduce our presenter and my wonderful colleague, Cat Purcell, who also helps with career services here at the library. Besides the awesome work that Cat does here at the library, she brings us a wealth of experience from helping job seekers at the Tampa Public Libraries. So with that, Cat, I didn't mean to rhyme. Thank you for joining us, and I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Let me go ahead and I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. All right, so welcome to Job Search 101. As Jordan introduced me, I am Cat Purcell. I work with career services here and just help out at the services desk as well. And you're more than welcome to shoot me an email if you need to at cpurcell@champaign.org. A little bit of background about me, as she mentioned, I originally came from the Tampa Library System, where I helped with a lot of career services there as well. I myself have had parts of my life where I really struggled to get a job and find reliable employment. So that's a lot of my history on navigating those job search markets and interviewing processes has helped me in this career field. So hopefully we can go over some things that will save you some of the trouble that I ran into. So the agenda for today is searching for jobs, and then applying for jobs, checking out employment websites, and then expectations, considerations, and next steps around the job search process. So where do you look for jobs? You can look in person, you can network, but as we all know now, the big one is online. Online is the best place to search for jobs. Most places, if you go in and ask if they're hiring, they're just going to direct you to apply online. So that's going to be what we're focusing on today. So right off the bat, which job search site should you use? If you have any recommendations or preferences, go ahead and let me know in the chat. But I will let you know which job site should you use. Really, there's so many of them. So really any of them are good. It's not really a matter of which site should you use, it's how you use it. So we have Indeed or Google, whatever gets you that job. Yes, absolutely. So before we begin, before we even go to the job site, there's some things to keep in mind that will prepare you for how you're applying. Because as we just discussed, you know, whether you're using Indeed or Google or Snag a job, it's really what you do to prepare before you get on that job search site that will help you the most. So before you get on that job search site of choice, double check your resume and cover letter. It's always good to make sure there aren't any errors and that they're up to date with all your accomplishments. And it's always good to have like a Word document version or a Google Docs version of it, and also a PDF, because you never know exactly which type the job search site is going to prefer. So also make sure you're looking at your online applications and profiles. So not just your social media profiles like Facebook and Instagram, but also take a look at, most of those sites will require you to create a login. So it's good to take a look at that profile that you've set up for yourself and make sure everything's filled in and there's nothing that you don't want employers to see on there. So double check with letters of recommendation. Before you even apply, double check with your friends or your coworkers, managers in the past, and see if they'd be willing to write you a letter of recommendation. It's good to check with them before you even search for that job so that you know that you can go ahead and put their information in. And then one of the tools that helped me the most when I was applying to multiple jobs was come up with a job or career hunting list. Narrow down the types of career fields that you are willing to work in. Make sure you know that these are the ones you don't want to work in. And then come up with the companies that follow in line with those, maybe your dream company to work for, but also which ones are hiring right now that meet your requirements. It's good to come up with a list so you know where to start and you can track it as you go. So what is the current job searching situation? So as we know, the pandemic is happening and that has kind of affected the unemployment rate. But Illinois is actually coming back up from that. So our current unemployment rate in Illinois is 7.1%, which isn't bad. It's much better. It had been in the 14, 20% even, I think, at the worst part in Illinois. So we're coming back down there. And then Champaign, the unemployment rate is just at 4.3. And I forgot to update this. It says in January, but that was based on June's dates. So sorry for my typo there. So double check your unemployment insurance. Do you need to apply for unemployment insurance? Maybe you're still working, so you don't need to, but it's always good to check in with that. Check out company research. So research the actual company you're applying to and any news that might come out about them. It's always great before you apply to show the company what you know about them. And then make sure you stand out. So retool your resume if you need to. Retool your cover letter. Remember, cover letters should always be pretty individualized based on the job position or the company. If you need some help with your resume or cover letter, both me or Jordan are more than happy to help you take a look at those. And we also have a service job now that you can use from our library databases that can help you review your resume as well. So buff up your online profiles, like I mentioned earlier, make sure those look really good. And then practice on different platforms. So we're all on Zoom now, but maybe your interviewer is going to use Skype, maybe they'll use Google Duo or something. So double check your platforms, double check your LinkedIn, get comfortable with these services because you don't know which one they'll be preferring. So before you even go onto that job site still, it's always a good idea to find out why are you searching for a job. That's going to lead you down a better path so that you're not making mistakes or end up just applying to any job just to get your bills paid, which is legitimate and sometimes that's necessary, but it helps to really know what is your desired career field. What fields are you willing to or not willing to work in? What's your desired salary range? What, in terms of salary, can you accept, or what do you need to make your bills? Are you willing to commute for employment? And if so, how far? What are the benefits that you need in terms of healthcare or vacation coverage or sick leave? And so another good question to ask is, what is your end goal with this job? Is it just a short-term job just to get you on your feet again before you get to that real dream job? Or is it this long-term job that you're going for? What are your bills or financial obligations? What's your end goal with this job? Is it to use the skills? Is it to grow your skills and level up to that next position? Is the company going to match your values? Is that important to you or not? What kind of values does the company have? What do you have and what are you willing to settle for? Okay, one next step before you apply. If you're logged in and you see that your job application is ready to go to the place, it's always good to do some research on the company. This could go into your interview if you get one. This could go into your cover letter, but it's great to do some background research. So check out the Better Business Bureau, see what their ratings are, see if other patrons or customers have had complaints or have really great things to say about them. You can check out Career One Stop, which is a great program for checking out companies, and also lots of other things which we'll get to later. Check out the company website itself. What does the website look like? What services do they offer? Are there anything on the website that the company offers that maybe isn't what they're most known for, but can be really helpful? It's good to know that information. Check out their Glassdoor reviews. If you're unaware of Glassdoor, it's kind of like a great resource for checking out, especially those bigger companies, to see what it's like to be an employee who works there. Check out Google. What are their Google reviews? Also check out their LinkedIn page. What are they putting on their LinkedIn page to promote about their company? See if you have any connections with them. That's another great tool for LinkedIn. Maybe you know somebody who works there already. Go ahead and check it out on LinkedIn and see if you do. It could be a great connection there before you get that interview. And then you could always use the public library. We've got a wealth of databases here that can help you, like I was talking about, like Job Now, that will review your website. We also have all kinds of other services that can help you out. So, question time again. First, should you apply to the job even if you don't have a required degree? I'm gonna wait here just for a little bit. That's something I ran into a lot when I was applying jobs. You know, this position requires a master's. Should you apply if you don't have a master's? And I'll tell you from my own experience, yes, apply if you don't have the master's. Most people, places are just wanting to have that good candidate. So if you have all the skills they're looking for besides that master's, they may take a chance with you, and they might help you get that master's if it really is a requirement, or they may say, you know, it's okay. We're happy with the skills you're bringing to the table, so don't worry about that master's yet. And then the next part of that question could then be, should you apply for the job if you have the degree but don't have the experience? Yep, and once again, the answer is yes. It's always good to apply for the job. You never know if the answer is going to be great. We're willing to teach you the experience skills you need. You might as well apply anyway, because what other position are you in? You're still searching for a job. So if the answer is no, you don't have the experience, that's okay. Move on to the next job and just keep trying, because the only way to get that experience is to apply to the job. So let's go over some employment websites. We're going to go over some details, and these are just a few to start with. There's so many places you can apply to jobs anymore, but here's just a few of them. So we're going to look at Career One Stop. We're going to look at Illinois Job Link, which if you're on unemployment right now, that might be one of the reasons you're attending this, to learn a little bit more about it, because you need to be on Illinois Job Link. Indeed, we're going to look at Indeed. We're also going to look at LinkedIn and Monster. And then I think I've added two more on. Snag a Job is one of them. So a little overview about Career One Stop. This is a great resource that's totally free. It is sponsored by the U.S. Department of Labor, and they have a wealth of information about getting back to work. If you're interested in a career change, maybe you're just out of the military and you're getting back into the workforce again, they've got resources for that. If you are working with a criminal conviction, they'll help you with that too. If you're working with a disability, maybe you've never worked a job in your life before, there's a tab for that too. So there's great information here for all those things. They also are a job search site as well. So you can explore different career information through Career One Stop. And there's lots of different filters. So you can choose the location you're interested in, or the type of job. Maybe you're just interested in construction, maybe you're interested in teaching. You can explore based on those career fields. And they also have salary expectations based on where you're at and the position, as well as what training and certificates are required for that job. And then they'll direct you to where you can get those training and certificates. So it's really a great resource to start with. The next one is Illinois Job Link. So it's managed by the Illinois Department of Employment Security, so IDES. And they offer local embedded job listings, so you don't have to worry about running into like scam jobs or Craigslist where you're not sure if it's legitimate or not. They are required sometimes to receive unemployment insurance benefits. So sometimes you've got to be showing that you're actively looking for a job on Illinois Job Link to receive those unemployment benefits. But you can also create an account and a resume directly on the site. And they have some pretty good templates to go through there. They also have local job centers. Now, right now, I know things are kind of patchy with COVID, so it's not necessarily, I think you might have to call to make appointments. And I think they've only just started to reopen again. And that may have changed. So it's always good to keep the current situation in mind to see if those local workshops are available yet. But they've got a lot of resume guides and resources for any kind of job seeker, as well as interview assistance. The next one is Indeed. Indeed is a great place to start because it's very simple. You create a very simple profile. The searches are very simple. There's very little ads or confusing links on there. So it's definitely a good job search site to start with if you're just looking for the basics. You can also search there based on location or salary, the job type, whether it's full or part-time work, or you can just search for the company. So maybe you really just want to work for FedEx. So you can just put FedEx in there in Champaign and see what job sites come up. They also create job alerts. Well, this is definitely something to pay attention to if you create a profile. I've worked with customers before who have created a profile on there, and then they're just like, I can't stop getting emails for them. They're constantly sending me job alerts. So definitely sign up for them, but be aware to look through your setting notifications, because maybe you want a lot of those job site alerts and maybe you don't. But they do send those alerts out if there are new job postings daily or weekly, depending on what you're interested in looking for. They also have a lot of articles. They do have right now Indeed resources for COVID-19. So they've got a lot of resources there that are free, articles that are free to read. And you can also create an account and resume directly on the site. One of their big is you can apply to the job right there. So some of the jobs will link you back to the employer's webpage to apply, but a lot of them you can apply directly through Indeed just by clicking a button once you've got your resume on, which is really helpful. The next one is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is one you may have heard about as well. They are not just a site for basically your business Facebook profile, but there's lots of ways to find jobs and learn from LinkedIn as well. There are constantly people hiring through LinkedIn, and there are also recruiters on the site. I know people who have come in and had recruiters reached out to them through LinkedIn. So it's a great site to check out. They also have an option to create and download a resume. So you can create your resume and link it on LinkedIn. So it's just right there on your profile, and then you can just download it, which is very convenient. As I mentioned, recruiters and scouts are on there and very active. It's really easy to make connections. So in COVID, while it's hard to make networking connections in person, LinkedIn is a great resource for that. You can get to know people in your industry, whether they're local or across the nation, and talk to them through LinkedIn, which is really great. There's also lots of profile options. If you go into the profile options and see your jobs, your profile settings, there's lots of ways to control different ways in which your profile is viewed, whether you're searching for a job or maybe you don't want it to be known that you're searching for a job. If you're currently working somewhere, those are all settings you can do on your LinkedIn profile. And then there's also LinkedIn Learning, which we offer through the Champaign Public Library if you have a card with us, which is kind of like a bonus wealth of information with lots of webinars on all kinds of different industries, how to be a manager, how to manage your time, all kinds of soft skills that you can learn through webinars through LinkedIn Learning with your library card. The next one is Monster. I know Monster has is still out there. It's very similar to Indeed. I think it came around before Indeed. And it's very similar to it in that it's also a very simple profile setup. You can search for your jobs based on location or salary or job type. And you can also hire through Monster. So there are employees on there, or employers looking for employees on there as well. You can also upload and submit your resumes while applying directly on the site. You also have the option to hide your profile if you're employed and not looking, but you want to keep it on there just in case something changes. And there's also a variety of filtering options for salary, location, and job type. Another one is Simply Hired. This is another great, very simple design friendly account. So you can see here, you can search just by city and just see anything that's available in Champaign right now. But you can also see those very clear title, job title, as well as company, how much they're paying, as well as whether it's full time and whether there's benefits included. And then you can do a quick apply. So you can sign in and create an account. You can use a search engine to just look for it and filter all kinds of alerts through Simply Hired as well. And then Snag a Job is one of the last ones we'll be going over. Obviously, there's way more out there than this, but these are just some of the frequently used ones right now. So Snag a Job is a great way to find some local jobs as well as national ones, because you can filter location, job type, and salary as well. They're very clear to find job descriptions. It's geared more for hourly work. So there's a lot of people looking for employees on Snag a Job right now. This one, you do have to create an account to apply. It doesn't just link back to the website necessarily. But they also do job matching. So you can put in what your field types are for your job, whether you're interested in remote or driving, customer service, and it will give you alerts just for those job types. All right, question time. What is the best way to network? Wait for a bit. I'm going to take a drink while I'm waiting. So what is the best way to network? All right, well, I'll let you know. It's really any way you can. Networking doesn't have to just be showing up at a big corporate event and asking everybody what the weather is like or what they're doing. It can be any kind of job, or even just a hobby that you can network in. So some of the best ways to find jobs, if you're looking, is through a hobby group or something like that. So I know right now there's not a lot of people meeting in person, although we're starting to get back to that. So digital networking is a thing. Maybe you're attending a webinar like this. Maybe you're attending a conference virtually. Those are great ways to network too. So if you're corresponding with somebody in a chat message or something, you can reach out to them and see if they have any idea what places are hiring around. It's definitely not unheard of right now. LinkedIn is another great way to network. So you can make connections through LinkedIn. If you know people or know people who know people at companies on LinkedIn, you can send them a connection request and see if they accept and just start a message with them. You can also use message boards on a lot of those job search sites. I know people who have even just put out on Facebook, hey, I've got experience as a caretaker. Do you know anyone who needs a caretaker right now for their elderly relative? And that can work as a way to find your next job connection too. So really, there's no wrong way to network. Don't think of networking as a stuffy thing. I used to, and really you can network any day in just about any situation. So how are we going to prepare your profile? So you've networked, you've found a job to apply to, and I've talked about this before, but it really kind of is a two-step process, because once you found the job you want to apply to, it's really a good idea to take a look back at your profile again, make sure it looks how you want it to for that job. So double check your resume. Is it uploaded and easily accessible? Double check a summary pitch. A summary pitch is a really great thing to have. People also call them elevator pitches. So a great way to sum up your experience and what you're interested in terms of a job in a short enough time that you could tell it to somebody through an elevator ride. So scrawl a couple of paragraphs about yourself and see what's the best way you can sum up your experience, and that's your summary pitch. What are your locations and settings? So where are you interested in moving to? Maybe you want to stay here in town. Maybe you're interested in a job in Colorado. So make sure you've got those location settings marked on your account so that you're seeing those jobs as well. And double check your social media. I touched on this a bit earlier, but it's always good to take a look at your Facebook account, double check your Instagram or your Twitter. Is your TikTok available publicly? You know, what do you want to see a potential employer seeing or not seeing? It's always a good idea to check that out. What's publicly available? So some other search tips. Have those clear career goals in mind so you know what to include in your job search. A big part of a job search is not just what site to use, but how are you searching for those terms. Now, if you're interested in working a library, you don't always have to be a librarian to work here. So make sure that when you're searching for library jobs, you're putting librarian and not just librarian, because that might open up a lot more opportunities for you. Google can be a great job tool as well. You can use it to job search just by simply going to the Google search bar and typing jobs near me. And it's going to just show you all the jobs currently available in Champaign that's pulling from all kinds of different job sites. So like I said, for your search tips, it's always great to research the company, look at their own homepage and their social media profiles, see what they're posting and putting out there. You can tell a lot about a company of what they want people to know about them based on the content they choose. And set alerts for when they post. You know, interacting with them on social media is a great way to just put your name out there and make it available if that's something you're interested in, if you have a specific company you really want to work for. It's also a good idea to set time limits. It's really easy to get very stressed, feeling like you need to spend 9, 12 hours a day searching for jobs. And I can tell you that's really not going to be the best way to do it. You're just going to get burnout. So set time limits or set goal limits. Maybe you're just going to apply to 4 jobs today. Maybe you're just going to search for jobs for 4 hours. Set goals, little goals throughout the job search time, and that'll make you feel less stressed about the overall options about searching for a job. Next, things to look out for are legitimate opportunities, particularly on places like Indeed or Craigslist. You might see job opportunities, but they might not always be verifiable. So some ways to double check that you're not getting scammed are what information is required versus what's volunteered. There shouldn't really be a lot of requests for your social security number in a job application. If there are, that's a red flag. They really probably only need to know your name, maybe your address. Some places aren't even doing addresses anymore because there's so much remote work, and your phone number, right? They're probably just looking for your contact information. Anything more than that, you might want to start putting a red flag out there and see, that's interesting. Another question to ask yourself, are there any fees or upfront payment? If they're telling you that you're going to have to pay to just go to the job interview, that's kind of weird. Maybe they're telling you you're going to have to buy X amount of our product before you can sell it for us. That's kind of a red flag. So just be aware of those things. What other financial information are they asking for you? Are you applying for the job and they're asking your credit score? It's not unheard of, but it's also a red flag. Another thing to look out for are position promises. If they're saying, apply to our job and you'll be a manager in 1 year, that's really a hard thing to guarantee anyone. So that's another red flag right there if there's language like that. If they are unwilling to put it in writing, say you've applied to the job, you've done an interview, and then they're telling you stuff that doesn't quite match up with the job application or the job description that you got in the application, just kind of think about that a little bit. There's a reason that stuff isn't put in writing, and just, not all of these are giant red flags that say you shouldn't apply to that job, because you never know with the field type, but they're all things to just kind of be skeptical of. And then the next thing to do is perform your research. Like I was talking about, check the Better Business Bureau, check Glassdoor, see what past employees have said about that company before you dive in and commit yourself if any of these things are coming up. What about after you apply? So you found the job, you used the site and double checked your profile, you've applied to the job, but now you know you're not going to hear back for it until that job position closes, and maybe even a little bit after that, which could be a month or two at least. But what do you do to occupy your time? Well, you could volunteer. There's always places looking for volunteers, and you never know when that volunteer opportunity could be your next job. When I was in high school, I was volunteering at a pet shelter, and it ended up turning into employment because I was there and dependable and they needed somebody to come walk the dogs. So bonus. You can also double check your timing, schedule things for you to keep busy with, also research and learn. We've got all kinds of resources here at the library, and it's great to take up a hobby because not only is it taking your time and making it less stressful, but you're adding a new skill in there too. Employers are always happy to see someone who's willing to learn, even when they don't have to learn. Like I said, research the company is a great thing to do, and then networking. You can join all kinds of other hobby groups as well as check out LinkedIn profiles and meet new people. Maybe you can send a message out and say, hey, I see you worked at X company and I just applied there. I'd like to know a little bit more about what you think about it. You never know what that foot in the door can help you out for when you get that interview. What else are you going to expect when job searching? There's some things to look out for and be aware of. There is no set path. It's really easy to think, okay, I made my resume, I applied to the job, I've got my interview next, and then I'll get the job. And that's not always how it goes. Unfortunately, anymore, some places are requiring several interviews before they offer the job. Some places are requiring panel interviews before you are offered a job. And it's not always a guarantee, obviously, that once you've got that interview, you're going to get the job. So just remember there's no set clear path. But just because you applied and you interviewed, if you didn't get the job, doesn't necessarily mean you're off the hook with that company. So remember, they could keep you on the profile, or maybe they're interested in you for another position. So always be aware, there's no set path. There's also no clear timeline. I have gone in to interviews and been offered a job right there on the spot as soon as the interview concluded. I've also gone in for interviews and not heard back for several months and figured, well, I guess I didn't get that one. I wished that they had at least sent me, an email saying I didn't get the job. And then they called me back 2 months later telling me I got the job. When can I start? So you never know. Every company kind of hires a little differently. So there's no clear timeline. It's good if you've got an interview to ask, when can you expect to hear back? But even that's not always going to be what you expect to run into. The next thing to double check is the skills or experience or education required for that job. If you have the chance to learn some skills you don't have while you're applying that they want you to have, you might as well take them up on it. And then you can tell them, hey, I've been working on this. I don't have it yet, but I've got the certification that I'm working towards. What other transferable skills do you have? Customer service is a great one for any job types. If you've got customer service, think of that as a transferable skill. Also remember to have a flexible plan. You may be ready to start day one, X1, but they may say, you need X and X, we can't hire you for another month. There also might be something to be aware of if you have other obligations going on in your life where you can't start as soon as they want you to. So just be aware of having that flexible plan. Double check with reality, it's not always, like I said, a clear set path, a timeline. And learn from all your experiences. Even if you go into a job and you find out once you get to the interview that this company is probably not what you're looking for, you might as well take the interview anyway. Interviews are always scary and they can be stressful, but the more interviews you do, the more comfortable you're going to be in them, which maybe you realize this job is not one you really want, so you don't care about the interview. Do it anyway, because that'll make you that much more approachable and make the interview for the job you really want less scary. In the meantime, while you're job searching and applying, double check your resume, keep those applications and employment websites handy. Double check cloud storage. One of the things we run into here a lot at the library is people who don't have a place to save their resume that they've worked on, because unfortunately it's not something that can be saved on our public computers. So double check you have a USB drive to save it on, or maybe you use cloud storage if you use Gmail or Hotmail or anything through Microsoft. You have a drive, a cloud drive, and it could be Google Drive or OneDrive, and you can store that stuff so you can always access your resume. Another thing is keep an application tracker. It's real easy to just open an Excel document and just have like a job title, job position, how much it's paid, when you applied, and when you got the interview, and kind of go through that list to keep track of the jobs you've applied for. And any requirements they might need for that company or that interview. And then volunteer in the meantime. It keeps your skills relevant. It shows you're active and still willing to work. And it's a great way to make connections. And sometimes it can channel into paid work. So we've got one last question here. How do you avoid becoming stressed while job searching? I'll look and see if there's any answers. If you've got some, go ahead and put them in the chat. For me, one of the things I did was I took up running. It was a great stress reliever. It helped me stay active and not feel cooped up in my home while I was job searching, and it kept me healthy too. So running was a great way for me to de-stress while I was job searching, because we all know it's a pretty stressful activity. I've also seen people obviously read, watch shows. It's a great way to keep up with entertainment. I know a friend who's a really big crafter, so they just really worked on scrapbooking, documenting all the past years that they have collected photos for while they were looking for a job. It's a great way to just do something fun and light while still keeping busy. We've got all kinds of programs going on at the library, so it's always a great place to make some free connections and learn some new skills for free. So always check out your library for local events and activities while you're job searching. All right, and I think we'll leave it at that today. Thank you for tuning in. If you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We also have a website available for chat. So if you go to the box that pops up, you can just chat with us there. Anytime we're open, there's a live person on the other end of that chat box, and we can answer your questions. You can also always email us at librarian@champaign.org. And then once again, my email is cpurcell@champaign.org if you have any further questions and want to get a hold of us. But I want to thank you for taking the time to view our webinar today on the job search, and hope you learned something and help make your job search better. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. That was great as usual. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. And if you didn't catch Kat's information, I have my information up here on the screen. But yeah, as Kat mentioned, feel free to reach out to us. We're helping with job applications, resumes, practice interviews, things like that, whatever you need to help you on your professional journey. Let's see here. So our next webinar will be next Tuesday, September 21st at 10 a.m. It's going to be Find Your Get Up and Go. And that we're going to be hosting Chelsea Byers, who's a family life educator from the University of Illinois Extension Office. And Chelsea will discuss, the causes of motivational ups and downs and ideas how to boost your enthusiasm and increase productivity, things like that. And then here's the remainder of our series for September. We have a lot more coming up for the fall, so we invite you to visit champaign.org/events for more information. And it's not just limited to career webinars. We have webinars related to our business series, our tech series, our crafty adults, our writers workshops, our financial series. We have a lot of offerings here at the library. Or you can just give us a call if you need some assistance with signing up. They're currently all virtual, so just let us know if you need some help. And here's our contact information with the librarian email. If you didn't catch my email address or Kat's, you can email librarian@champaign.org and it will get to us. You could chat with us, like I said before, and then we still are scheduling those appointments for Book a Librarian if you need assistance with not just resumes, but technology assistance, computer basics, using any of our online services, things like that. And let me turn my video on just for a moment. All right, well, that's all we have for today. Thank you again, Kat, for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great to do it.
All right, I'll go ahead and end the webinar. I hope everyone enjoys their morning. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.